Alright, hey, how's it going? So let's see, what have you got here? You say, hey Shark, first thanks for doing this, really cool and stiffing up your prices. Look, might have to eventually, but hopefully not yet. First replays in a POV, forgot to press tab, that's okay. And then if you go back to the start and press tab, if at all that is helpful. Okay, yeah, we might look at that for some of like what items you buy on bases and stuff. So we'll have a look at that. Played this one yesterday, figured as I have exams at the moment, also get a standard one later in time in June. Cool, like no rush, man. It's just you do you. Felt this game was good, Zenon, you didn't play terribly, but I know there's a lot more I could have done. Done into the lot, tilting, your general lane phase could have been a bit better. You didn't roam, went to recall, generally struggled with Live and Shaco, went to place wards. General stuff, as I plan to start watching more of them. Solo Ken, you haven't talked too much. No, this is good. I'd rather have more information than not enough. The silver 4, but you're doing with a gold for friend, had some gold players. Tend to be high silver in recent seasons. Got gold in preseason one time. Main goal is to get gold properly. Okay. Alright, so let's get into this. First off, just like straight off the bat, I think Futures Market Ekko mid is not that good. So the reason that Ekko jungle can take Futures Market is because most of the time, like when you're going for a gank and stuff like that, you will be the one that engages first. Like I think maybe you know that the way Futures Market works is like you have to be the one that attacks first, otherwise it goes on cooldown. Like so if someone hits you first, it's going to go on cooldown. Now in mid lane, this is going to be quite hard for you to consistently do because you're going to have a lot of people with ranged auto attacks, you have a lot of people with ranged spells, so I think a lot of the time you're actually going to have a lot of difficulty like proccing first strike and actually getting a lot of gold value out of it. It's true that you will get a lot of gold value out of it in the mid game, but I think in the early game you're giving up a bit too much, and I think you could probably snowball quite a bit more with Electrocute. So I'll see how it goes this game, but I do kind of feel like Electrocute Ekko mid with Inspiration secondary, or maybe Sorcery, but probably Inspiration is going to be better than Futures Market most of the time. But let's get into the VOD. So you're playing Ekko versus Vel'Koz, and you're against Shaco. So yeah, I also struggle playing versus Shaco. This is a very annoying champion. It makes it very hard to pressure mid. One thing I'll say is that something that people do versus Shaco that you could do is they place a ward at level 1. Oh, can you see my mouse? Yeah. They place a ward at level 1, like right here, just above the wall to see if he's doing a red to mid path. You can do this if you're gonna be pushed in anyway, because it means like by the time he comes for like a 230 gank, you're already gonna be under your tower, so it's not a big deal. So you could definitely do it in this matchup if you wanted to, but also you don't have to. Like I think you could probably kind of survive. Oh, one second. Let me actually just go D&D on Discord before I get spammed. Okay, yeah. So level 1, you mainly just want to look to farm and kind of like not take too much damage. Wave should come to you. So right now this is all good. You're using your spells well. This is fine. Yep, everything's fine. We'll have to see what item you started. We'll see at the end, I guess. I'm assuming you have Corrupting Part? Or maybe you have Doran's Ring? I think it would be better to have Corrupting Part. So, okay. So I'm gonna quickly show you something here. I think if you had realized that right now, like Vel'Koz has used his W, right? And he's level 1. So you know that Vel'Koz is on cooldown right now. I think this is like a hard window. Well, it's not that hard, but it's like you have to kind of plan this in advance. I think you could realize here that you can quickly hit level 2 and trade on this guy while he's level 1. So I think if you played more aggressively here, so like as long as you don't stand in the wave, you know Vel'Koz isn't going to W, right? And if he does W you, it doesn't do much damage, and then he's not Wing the wave. So you could come here and you could auto attack this creep twice, and that would make sure that you actually get level 2 first, and then you could just look to E onto him. I think especially if you had Electrocute, you could punish this guy quite hard. You do get a good punishment anyway because he used a cooldown, but I think that could have been not a kill, but maybe a flash burned if you were like really onto it with like getting that level 2 first. That's not going to happen super often when you can look for that, but I think that's sort of just like the way that lane like played out. I think you could have gone for it. So just gonna be farming a tower. Yeah, at the end I'll give you a bunch of notes, by the way. I normally say that at the start of my other videos, but I forgot to say it. So at the end I'll write up a bunch of notes for you and kind of explain them for you. So this is all good. Oh, actually here you should be more aggressive as well. So this is like the same thing as before. I think you can hit level 3 here before he can. The reason is like when the wave is pushed like this, you get to hit the minions before he does, right? So in this situation, actually, if you had just like committed the hard like hitting this creep, you could probably look for a trade at level 3 to level 2, and I think you actually hit level 3. Yeah, so like right now you're level 3. This guy's level 2. And he just used a cooldown on the wave. This should be like, you should play like super aggressively right now. But instead, you kind of like wait, you kind of give him a little bit of a freebie. You are zoning him now, which is good. So you are like punishing his cooldown, but you could have punished it harder. This is good, really good trade. So that's very nice. I'm glad your laning is actually pretty decent so far. Obviously, it can be improved, but you've got some laning fundamentals down. That's cool to see. I think this is all good. Now, one thing you will have to be careful of here is being aggressive when you don't have any vision of Shaco. It's like very hard in general to play aggressive when Shaco's in the game because he can kind of gank you at any time. So you're going to have to kind of be careful about using your E aggressively here because I think you probably just want to push this in and get the wave pushing back to you. So here, I would probably just queue this wave. I think as Ekko in general, I think you kind of want the wave on your side unless you are looking to roam. But especially when you're against like Shaco, you probably want this pushed and then like to come back to you so that you'll be safe. I think right now, I like what you're doing in maybe a normal matchup where you're zoning or like you're denying CS on the way in, so that's quite nice. But I think in this matchup, or rather this sort of game specifically, I think you should have just fast pushed this. There you took an extra tower. I think you have, okay, yeah, you definitely have Doran's Ring and not Corrupting Paw. I do think the Corrupting Paw would have been better. You can see now this is like a really scary situation to be in because it's like you have no wards, and if you want to get a ward that's actually useful versus Shaco, it kind of needs to be on one of his camps, and you can't really like go that far, so this is super scary. Also, you did 2 points E rather than a point in W. I think point in W is really valuable at level 4. It's gonna help you survive a lot of ganks. Also, it allows you to kind of like do stuns from Fog's War. I'm not sure if that was a misclick, but I don't really like it. I think it'd be better just to put a point in W. Yeah, this is like quite a scary spot to be in, honestly. I think maybe you shouldn't have even pushed this. Like at this point, no, actually, I think you're right to push this. Like he's pretty low mana and he doesn't have much gank set up, so as long as you're like careful with your E, he shouldn't really be able to punish you, and you can stop him from basing. So that's good. That's all fine. So Shaco shows bot. Yeah, this is okay. This is really bad. This is actually something that's coming up a lot in coaching sessions. Is you really need to have a really big like prioritization to push waves before roaming. Here, this is very risky because you're roaming without pushing your wave, which means you basically have to get something big for this to be worth it, because otherwise, like what Vel'Koz did here, he just pushes this whole wave and you just lose. Like you're gonna lose like what, half the wave. Actually, you're going to miss the whole wave because you're going to cancel this base. I do think it's right to cancel this dude's base, but you gave up a whole wave for nothing. So just as a general rule, like it's not going to be the case all the time, and I really need to make a video on this because it's come up so much, but just push this wave if you want to roam. Like just push this and base, or push this and move. Don't move and then push. It's going to be bad most of the time. Again, I really need to make a video on this because it's actually come up so much. So you lose a big lead here, I'd say. You lose a whole creep wave worth of golden XP, which does put you like pretty behind, I'd say, because it's really important. Okay, I think you put the 2 points E as an accident before, so I'm not going to worry about that. I think if you can hit level 6 as an assassin before like a mage champion, it makes a really big difference because it sometimes means that you can like dive them under tower, or you can trade on them really heavily. But now Vel'Koz is guaranteed to hit level 6 before you, so you're not going to get that small window. One good thing here is that you have him locked in lane. He's really low on mana, and actually what I would do here is, now that you know his mana is so low, I would probably just spam Qs in every way, which is, I think, looks like what you're going to do here. Wait, did you ward this before? Is that your ward? Yeah, okay, so this ward is useless. I can understand why you did it, because well, sometimes you place a ward like here or here if you want to see if your opponent's roaming, but you don't need to be scared of Vel'Koz roams. Because like he just sucks at roaming, and also you don't need to be scared of, or rather, this ward doesn't help you against Shaco, so like that ward is going to be super useless, and it makes it harder for you to play aggressive. Against Shaco, the best wards are wards on camps, but to be honest, it is just quite hard to ward against him in general. It's a very hard champion to play mid against. I really hate that champ. So you're pushing in, this is good. Like you have a lot of people near you, so you can keep spam pushing these waves, I think. Yeah, like now he's level 6, but he doesn't have the mana really to do anything with it. I think you just keep spam pushing these waves. I'd probably queue this. I think here you definitely queue that. Okay, it took you a little while, but you did do it. Oh, you shouldn't be giving the creeps up though. Like, he's so low mana, there's nothing he can do to kill you. And worst case, you could literally base and ult back, if you did, you know, get that low. Maybe looking for a W angle. Cancel his base again. Good. Clear all these. Then you get the drag. I think you left a little too early here. You should probably just finish up those creeps. Another wave. I mean, this is like the good point about Ekko versus mages, is that you kind of like, most of them you can keep locked in lane because they have a lot of mana problems, and eventually that gives you a favorable base. So you get your base here. That's a good base. Obviously I can't see what you buy, but we'll see it at the end. So I'm guessing you have Revolver Dark Seal or something. I don't know how much like CS you have and how much gold, but I'm just guessing that's around about where you're at, and he should have probably lost chapter. So I think you can start looking quite aggressively with trades. Or you should be able to. I think you shouldn't be letting this guy just use all his cooldowns on the wave for free. Like, okay, you use your E there, so you can't punish this W. But I think that, okay, like right now, both Ws are on cooldown, and I think you could look to be quite aggressive. I think he also uses Q. I think on this cannon, you should be really, really aggressive on this cannon. You should make sure he doesn't get that for free. Instead, you kind of like let it go. I think you're like really, really strong at this point. The only thing you need to be scared of is his level advantage, but I actually don't think it matters that much. Not in this matchup anyway. So, you come bot. Again, this is another ward that is useful versus some junglers, but not useful versus Shaco. So this doesn't really help you at all. I guess it helps you if their support's going to roam, but they have Yuumi. So that's not going to do anything. I like this. Like this is really good. This is what you should be doing on every wave, and also just like okay, yeah, you actually did perfectly. He uses a cooldown. He actually uses 2 cooldowns, and then you look to play aggressive. So you can look to do this way more often. You don't need to just like only do this once a game or whatever. You can look to do that on basically every wave as long as you have the mana to kind of facilitate it. I also think you were a bit too passive afterwards. So it's true that like you use cooldowns here, right? But the only way he can get these creeps is also by using cooldowns, and your cooldowns are almost back up. So I think here, you should actually be threatening to move back into him. And if he does use his spells on this wave, it's probably, like, you can probably get his flash. But you back all the way up, and that allows him to just sort of get everything for free. Oh, he's not going to base. I thought he was going to base. So he stays. Guess you're going to do the same thing. Sorry, I'm kind of tired, but anyway. Do the same thing. This is good. Even if it doesn't hit him, you push him off the wave. He's using cooldowns. Got Trundle nearby. And that was decent. You did deny quite a few CS on that wave, and you're going to get all of them. So unfortunately, I can't see the CS right now, but I think that's pretty good, probably. He just uses E. Okay, yeah, really good punish from you. Really good cooldown punish. So you flash forward, although actually, could you have done this with W? Let's see. Okay, you have Gathering Storm, that's interesting. So at this point, you see the cooldown used. I think you could drop a W behind him here if you are going to go for this play, and you could probably burn his flash. It sort of sucks to invest both your flash and ignite to not get a kill. I actually think if you had electrocute in some of these trades as well, like by now you might have been able to kill him, because it would have added up like all the damage. Maybe you can't kill him in this trade right here, but I think one of these times you would definitely be able to kill him, or like at least get him like a little bit lower, right? But he's forced to base. This is still favorable to you. It's actually interesting. You have a level advantage now despite missing an entire wave before, so that's kind of crazy, like how much you've caught up. Mainly because you've been playing the lane better than him. So that's good. Now, where is he? Oh, he roamed... Wait, what? Okay, so he roamed top to kill Sion. You push this in, you get a tower plate. Very good. You look for a roam, which is fine because you already pushed the wave in. Like, okay, this is like, I would say, it has some things of a good roam, but also some bad things. So, like, the good things about, like, taking this roam, 1, you have, like, your wave already pushed in. 2, like the wave position is good for a dive. 3, you have your jungler on this side of the map. But if we actually look at this, it's like we have 2 champions, I guess 3 if you include Shaker, but looking at their bot lane, this is a very hard bot lane to kill. You know their HP is pretty high because like you could have looked, right? And also like they have all their sums. So I don't think there's really anything you can do here. Let's see. Yeah, so ultimately doesn't look like anything comes of this. And now you're going to lose a wave mid. So I think you could have realized earlier that this wasn't really going to work. Again, roaming's another video I really need to make, because that's another big problem I've seen in my coaching sessions. So that was a bad roam, and I think the main things, like there were good things about that roam, but the bigger problem was that like they were so high on HP and they had all their sums, and also you don't have the best champs to facilitate this. Like, okay, if you have something like Kai'Sa Nautilus rather than Vayne Sona, maybe this is a play. But this is like kind of a weak CC bot lane. They don't really have the tools to make this happen. And also they have extremely good tools to make this not happen. Like that would be one of the hardest bot lanes to kill, I'd think. Maybe one of the only harder ones would be like Xayah something, but I can't think of it right now. Anyway, so you base, kind of had to there. Not sure what item you have now. You have a lot of AP though, so I'm assuming you have your mythic. I don't know for sure. Rayleigh's roaming. A little weird. What is this? Push this in. This is all good. Again, looking for a roam. I think this probably isn't going to work again. Like your bot lane's already dead. You're running to a lane. It's like super hard to kill. Maybe you can kill this guy. Get exhausted. Yeah, so the like you say in your like description that this wasn't a game you roamed a lot, and I'd actually be curious if you normally roam more than this, because I think you have roamed a fair amount. So this ends up going well for you, but I sort of don't really like it. I think you're actually pretty lucky that you managed to get a kill here. Because I think what should happen is like right now, Vlad pops Ghost, you get exhausted. If this guy just runs towards his jungle, like I don't know why he's running towards your jungle. This guy's completely safe if he just runs home. So you get very lucky that this guy just runs the wrong way for some reason, and you get kills. So it would have been a much better play overall to recognize that this was a hard bot lane to kill. Vel'Koz just went bot. So actually, if you stay mid right now, you deny another wave, and you actually might be able to get the mid tower. Like you can get a lot of damage on it. Not sure you get it completely, but you get it pretty low. So, now what happened here? Well, it looks like also as a result of that fight, you got pretty chunked, which forces you to base. And because you were forced to base, you lose 2 towers mid. So again, if you hadn't taken that roam, this would have been avoided. Which is pretty important, right? Because tier 2 mid going down gives them a huge amount of map control. It does give gold as well, but the map control is the real killer. Obviously, you don't want to give gold over either. This is like the exact same thing. It's looked like you're trying to make a play before pushing this wave. Like at least kill this wave first, so that you, even if the play goes wrong, there's nothing like you're losing for other than like HP and time. But here you're like just losing farm over and over because you're roaming at like bad times, I would say. Push another wave now. Your Vayne's grouping mid, so this is kind of where you would go to the side lane. This is something that's also come up in a lot of coaching sessions. It should feel really, really bad for you when you're sharing golden XP with your team, particularly with your AD carry. So when there's like 3 of you sharing this wave, this is super, super bad. And you want to avoid these situations at all times. You want to like immediately, unless it's like a dragon, like unless you're grouped for a dragon or grouped for a baron or something, you want to get back to somewhere where you can farm and get like solo gold and solo XP as soon as possible. Like here, you're just losing farm and gold bot, and Trundle's catching it instead, and Trundle's like useless with gold. Or not useless, but not as useful as you, right? So definitely I think I would have let Vayne mid here, and I would have just like ram bot and collected. This is good though, at least you pushed the mid wave all the way in before coming down to this, so no matter what, they're going to lose a bunch of creeps here, and you're going to get to this fight. Looks like a kill. Yep. Okay, good. And maybe a W angle on this guy. Oh yeah, that guy's dead. Alright, very nice roam out of you there. That was a much better roam. I think, like, you can know again that this is good because, like, the waves pushed in. When you start moving, Vlad is half HP. Vlad's sums have been pinged in chat. Also, you have your jungler nearby. So, like, this time, there's a lot of things that you can know ahead of time that make this, like, good. And how you know it's going to work, basically. Just come out of base. We'll have to go back and see all your items and stuff. Again, I'd say you're maybe running to the wrong place. I think... Well, no, I think clearing this wave is fine because Vayne is dead. But now you should definitely go to the side lane. But it looks like you come mid again. So you could run straight bot here and push us in. You could go take Gromp. You could take Raptors. You know, there's like a lot of gold somewhere you can get. But instead you kind of take all of Vayne's farm, which is pretty bad. It's better than you getting no farm. But obviously it's also better if you can make sure your team's getting farm. All this time, this bot wave has just been like not doing anything. So try and get in the habit of pushing waves and like before moving, and also really prioritizing the side lane in the mid game. And it should feel really, really bad for you, like I said, whenever you're grouped and sharing gold and XP like with your team. So let's see what happened here. Kill that guy. Ooh. Actually wasn't anything that... Okay, now this guy's here. I think you can probably kill him. Oh wow, you got one shot. Really? So how did you die? You got CC'd by Vel'Koz or something? Oh, wait, what did you... Oh, I see. You got rooted by Yumiel and you didn't know that Vel'Koz was there. I can sort of understand this death. Like, to be honest, if you, yeah, I mean, this is sort of hard to know, right? Like, that's a little bit unlucky, I'd say. So I don't hate the death that much. I will say maybe that from a more, like, teamfight point of view in general, it'd probably be better for you to kite back a bit and wait for your W before re-engaging. Also, it's better if you can find a flank rather than just, like, running straight at them. So maybe this can be avoided through just, like, playing the teamfight a bit smarter. But I think it's sort of an unlucky death anyway. I guess another trigger maybe could be that once you realize that Vayne has died, like you don't have your 80 carry for any fight, like maybe you don't want to be here anymore. Actually, that's probably the bigger thing, is that like, you know, you have two members of your team top and you also have Vayne dead. So I think after you kill the Shaker, you actually want to get out. Like, yeah, I definitely think now that's the biggest thing. Like, you extend this fight, but I think now, if you look at the map and you kind of like assess where people are, you really don't want to take this fight. You really want to get out. Even if you play it better, well, to be honest, if you play it better, you might win it because you are level 13, like you could probably carry it. But it's like hard to play it well from like with the limited knowledge you have. Okay, we see your items here. Lichbane second. Wow, that Vel'Koz is 6-0. I had no idea. Okay, yeah. I mean, I think it's fine. You have a stopwatch. Did you have this stopwatch? Well, I don't know. Because you could have stopwatched, obviously, but I'm not sure you had it. Okay, I think this guy's... Oh wow, he got you. Did you use your W? I just don't think you used it at all. Because, you know, you can just like W on top of yourself and then like ult back into it after. Yeah, you just like didn't use your W at all. Maybe you just thought it would be like a really free kill. Then you come get Baron. That's really big for a team with Vayne Sona on it. That's really nice. I think there's a bit of like target prioritization you need to think about now, because like that Vel'Koz being 6-0 means he's probably the target. Pretty hard to play against a comp though, to be honest. Vlad, Yumi, and Aurelia. Yeah, I think the game's just kind of cooked. Actually weird, because you guys are like pretty much even in gold, probably because it's all on Scion. But you're just like losing fights so hard. Okay, so get up the notepad. Let me come over here, grab the notepad. Okay, so I'll call this Ekko versus... What champion versus Vel'Koz? Okay. So I'd say the first thing, your itemization / runes could be better in the early game. I think this is a corrupting pot matchup. I think Electrocute mid is much better than Future's Market, especially if you're against a ranged champion. I think there's an argument that if you're against a melee champion like Galio, where you could consistently proc it earlier, it would probably be better, but I think otherwise Electrocute is going to get more value for you, especially if you're taking Ignite. Like, you clearly want to snowball the early game, and I think Electrocute will help you do that. I also kind of question your secondary runes. I think, so you have Sorcery, because I saw you had Gathering Storm proc. So I'm assuming you have like either Absolute Focus and Gathering Storm, or you have, what's the other one? Or you have like Mana Flow Transcendence or something. Honestly, I think, well, I can understand you taking it secondary because you're taking Inspiration primary, but if you start taking Electrocute primary, I think you should take Inspiration... Wait, Future's Market. What's that thing called? First Strike, sorry, not Future's Market. Anyway, I think if you take Electrocute primary, you should probably, I would recommend like Electrocute with Electrocute, Inspiration, and I would honestly probably take like, well, it depends on the matchup. You could take Time Warp Tonic with Corrupting Pot. You could take Minion DMAT and use it on all the range creeps to clear earlier. You could also take Magic Boots. I think Ekko can get away with that in a lot of matchups. So I would probably say default to like Magic Boots and Time Warp Tonic. But that's if you go in Corrupting Pot. Otherwise, you can go Magic Boots and DMAT. And I think this will help your early game a lot, because right now you have like a full mega scaling rune page, and you actually had opportunities even with your rune page to snowball the game, but I think it would be a lot easier for yourself if you just had like a stronger early game setup. I think in the early game in general, you did punish cooldowns sometimes, but like you should have like a bigger focus on punishing cooldowns. I think also your ward placement most of the time was pretty much useless. I'm actually gonna put a little early game thing here. I couldn't see what you bought on your first base or anything, so I have no idea about that, but I'm just gonna have to assume that it's good. I think, yeah, also like the roam, there were some poor roam timings, like giving up waves for free. In general, push, then move. It shouldn't be seen as like this is what we always do, but I'd say like if you're not sure, if you're not good yet at recognizing good roams, just always push before moving / basing, and that'll save you so much CS. Like I don't know how many waves you missed just because you left them. I'm guessing it was like 4 to 5. I think your laning fundamentals were decent, to be honest. Like I don't think you made any huge mistakes. It's just like you could have punished harder, especially when he was low mana. Oh, there were definitely some times where you didn't like recognizing, like, I don't know, strength advantage / strength. So there were times where you were like level 3 to level 2. There was like that time where you could have got level 2 to level 1. There was like the first base where I think you're ahead in like functional items, you know, like he has Lost Chapter, which is good for spam pushing you in, but in a pure just like if we fight right now, like you're gonna win. Yeah, so there, and also like with the cooldowns as well, but we've already talked about that. So there were a lot of times where you should have like traded really aggressively or like positioned really aggressively, and you didn't really do that. And I think if you'd done that a bit more, you would have definitely had opportunities to solo kill him. So yeah, there was all that. What else was there from the early game? Skim through it. Go turret play. Oh yeah, so just the like thing about like recognizing roams or good roams. So I am gonna make a full video about it, but I'll just like talk about it here. So generally the things you need to think about when you're roaming is like wave position, both your wave and where the enemy waves is. You need to think about like the CC. You need to think about like what champs are there. So for example, it's way easier to kill I don't know, like Sivir and what's another champ that's easy to kill? Like Sivir Karma or something. I don't know. Karma's sort of hard to kill. But anyway, it's way harder to kill those champs than like Vlad Yumi. Like Vlad Yumi is real hard. You need to think about their HP, think about their sums, think about what CC you have, think about where your jungler is, where there's like a big checklist of things that like kind of fill up like a good and bad column, and you just like, if you have like a load of things in the good column, then you go for the roam. But if you're not sure, just like don't roam. Just don't roam. Like you said, you didn't really do much roaming this game, but I think you did way too much roaming. And it was at pretty bad times, and it gave Vel'Koz like a pretty big lead, honestly. Like a lot of free waves that he wasn't punished for. And then, let's see, when the mid game started, Yeah, oh yeah, this was another really big one, but I think it falls in the roaming category. So in the mid game in general, you need to go to side lane for a start, like when the mid game starts, generally around 15 minutes, whenever your AD carry comes mid, when the tier 1s start dying, that sort of thing, that's when mid game starts. You need to go to side lane, and I really want this to be a big thing for you. Should feel really bad when you're not getting XP/gold, like or sharing, I guess. Like if you're sharing on the mid wave with a bunch of other people, that's super, super bad, and it should just like, it should feel bad. Like this sort of situation, you're just fine to be here, but this should suck. Like you should hate to be here. You should want to like, as soon as Vayne comes here, you should just be running straight bot because you don't want to share with her at all. So yeah, I want that to feel really bad for you. Oh wait, we actually saw the scoreboard here. So I think, oh yeah, your Sion's 112. So to be honest, you're probably not going to win this game either way. But there's a lot of things that if you did better in this game, will probably help you win other games. Jesus, man, that guy is really hard hinting. Okay. Good VOD still anyway, to be honest. Here's another one. So thinking about numbers, this is another thing that's come up a lot. So like right here, if you're paying like a lot of attention, if you're really focused on the game, I think you'd realize that you have like 2 people up here, and this is going to be like a 2v3 at best, so it's not really a good situation to fight. And I think like maybe you play mechanically better if you like flash earlier, but it's like sort of hard. Also, I'm not sure if you had stopwatch there, but anyway. Oh yeah, I think you did have stopwatch there, unless you literally just bought it now. But yeah, if you'd stopwatch that, you probably would have been able to get out, and they got a pretty big shutdown on you onto Vel'Koz, so if you hadn't given that over, like maybe your chances of winning are slim, but I think it's possible. And I think if you had played the early game better, actually, you probably would have won. Because if you look now, the gold's fairly even, and the enemy team comp scales well, but yours also scales really well, so it's like, it's not like you're worried about being super hard outscaled. And I think if you'd been able to carry, you know, the early game, I think you probably would have won. This is just like Ekko specific, like you just didn't use your W, so I'm not going to worry too much about that. You guys got the Baron. Again, we're doing a lot of XP sharing. Yeah, I think those are the main things. I think maybe in team fights also, you can have like a target prioritization, or suck at spelling that word. Like, let's see what you did here. Like, there was a lot of times where you would use all your cooldowns on like Vlad or something. Like, this isn't bad, right? Because you get Vlad's pool. But then if, because like you've used your cooldowns, you like, okay, I guess it was more the overchase here. Like, because you've overchased on a Vlad, like you've already got what you wanted from this guy, you can just like afford to move back. And you want to hit someone that's way more valuable, like Yuumi or Vel'Koz or something. So now you're pretty much useless and out of the fight. I mean, to be honest, the fight might just be already completely over, but maybe if you really smurfed this fight, you would have bought yourself some time. And if you did, like, Sion is taking towers, so it's not like he's doing nothing. So yeah, I do think this game was quite winnable, like, not even from a smurf point of view. I think if you had just played a bit better, you would be surprised how many things would be different. Like, there is a real butterfly effect in League that not a lot of people realize. Sometimes the difference between winning or losing is very, very small decisions way earlier in the game. You know, they add up to being able to kill a guy without using flash, or just like someone dies instead of living on 10 HP, that sort of stuff. So I think that's pretty much it. Things to work on and how to do it. So for you, I think the itemization, items / runes, really easy to fix. I mean, this literally instant. You don't need to really think about it. I think the roam thing is going to be really big. So basically just like push, then move, value creep waves, like really highly value, making sure you're there on every mid wave and not giving up mid waves for free unless it's something really good, right? Like if you see 3 people on 1 HP halfway down the river, like yeah, you don't need a mid wave, you can go kill them. But for the most part, pushing them, moving will be safer. We've got punishing cooldowns and recognizing like strength. So these go together. There were times when you had level advantages, times where he was down cooldowns, times where there was item advantages. This is general stuff, like you have like decent laning fundamentals, but you're not punishing as hard as you could. Like you could be getting bigger leads than you are, and that'll help. Then in the mid game, I think again it's mainly going to be about that golden XP. So it's going to be like side laning, and feeling bad when you don't get like when you don't get farmed. Basically, you should be looking for camps, you should be looking for like sideways, just anything that you can farm in the mid game. I think the easiest way to kind of like work on these is probably the pushing and moving thing. I think if you're not sure in the moment whether a roam is good or not, you could try it, see how it goes, and then look at the replay and see like, what did I lose for this? Like, was it good? Another way you could do it is just like not roaming, and then maybe you can like kind of dial it up a bit, although it's a bit harder to just say like don't roam, because you might just get in the habit of never roaming and never really exploring the limits there. So I don't want to say never roam, but just like really value the creep waves, and that I think will naturally lead you to being a bit more careful with your roams. Punishing cooldowns and recognizing strength, I think now that you're more aware of it, maybe like those small windows, I think you can probably look for it. Again, if you're not really sure, this would be another thing where maybe you could watch Ekko VODs. Or it could be your own, like you could see if there's anything you could do better, but also just look at like some like pro player Ekkos or some one trick Ekkos and just see when they're trading, like what small windows they're punishing on and how they're punishing. Now the side laning is probably the hardest part. I'd say, yeah, again, it'll just be this for the most part. Like at the moment, the advanced stuff of side laning about like how far to push, like where to place your wards and stuff like that, it's honestly like a bit too high level, I would say, at the moment. If you did want to like explore this, I think I talked about it quite a bit in my Chovia Kali video, and I also talked about it a lot in my farming guide, I think, or maybe my laning guide. I think it was my farming guide. So you might want to check both of those, but I think the biggest thing for you right now is like you're not even going to the side lane, and you just need to recognize that like you need to not be with your team basically. So I think let those like higher level concepts come a bit later, and for now just get yourself into the side lane where you can keep getting farm. I think that'll make a really big difference. So I think that's pretty much it. If you have any questions, of course, you can just like message me on Fiverr or Discord or whatever. Also, if you don't mind, I would like to kind of make the video public. Again, if you do mind, it's like no problem. It can be private, just completely up to you. So let me know if it was helpful. Let me know if there are any questions, and good luck on the climb, man.